Hello, good afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody. I had accidentally started up my third period Zoom, so I was sitting here for like 6 minutes and I was like, nobody's joining. That's pretty weird. And then I realized that that's because it's not third period anymore. Good afternoon, everybody. Those of you who are here, you are going to need to have your Padlet, which I will post the link to in a bit, open, and also the vocabulary sheet for today that's in Schoology, the basic vocabulary PDF. So go ahead and get those open. We'll give people just a couple more minutes, but then we have to get started because we have a lot to talk about today. So let's get our cameras on, please. Those of you who are here, please turn your cameras on. Thank you. So I need you to open the Padlet from last time, which is in Schoology, and I need you to open the vocabulary sheet that is in Schoology. You'll need both of those for today. Okay, Kennedy, that's fine. So if you can, turn your cameras on, please. Thank you. Thank you. So yes, let's start with the Padlet. So we're going to go through together. This is what we had completed with the Padlet. Okay, so everybody put that the protagonist was Justin. So how did you know that he was the protagonist in 21 Chump Street? How did you know?
Because he was the main character.
He was the main character. Okay. Elias says it's seen from his point of view. Okay. So the story kind of centered on him, right? What was his goal as the main character? What was his goal? To get Naomi to be his girlfriend, to get the girl to like him. Okay. All right. Good. Okay. So his goal has to do with Naomi. All right. So what was the stasis? Some elements of stasis. Think about that. Who, what, where, when, why. So tell me an element of stasis in 21 Jump Street. People typing, I can't tell. You couldn't hear me? Elements of stasis for 21 Jump Street. So who were where was this taking place? Let's start with that. That's the easiest one, right? In a high school, at a school, right? A high school. Good. They specifically tell us what state it was in. Did you catch that? What state? Anybody? Anybody catch what state they're in? They mention it at the beginning and then they mention it at the end. Florida, yes, yes. You got it, Delilah. Yes, they're in Florida, okay? Then we find out that Justin is an honor roll student and that he's already applied to colleges. So that implies that what? It's probably the second semester, maybe, sort of depends, right? Okay, so that's our who, that's our when, right? All right. So what's the initiating action? What starts the play?
Naomi transferring to that school.
Yes, good, perfect. Yes, Naomi transfers to the school. Justin meets him, and that begins his goal, right? He wants to get her to date him, get her to go to the prom, right? All right, good. So we have the rising action, right? He's texting her, then he does the dance to ask her to the prom, right? Okay, so that's our rising action. What's the crisis? What happens right about halfway through the play? Let me pull it up really quick. Distance. Of course, it's giving me an ad. Okay, so right about halfway through the play, what happens? Does anybody? She asks him to get drugs for her. Yeah. She basically says, do you smoke weed, right? And then he gets the drugs, right? He actually does it. That's the point of no return, right? Because now he has them. She asks him to do it. So I'm bringing it up right here. Actually, I need to find the one that's the one that we watched because there's one with an intro. Okay, pause. Right about halfway. And let me share my screen with you. So like I said, if this is the hardest one, so you look for halfway, right? He's convincing them. This is the if you believe in love part, right? And just about, we're a little bit less than halfway through or a little bit more than halfway through, and he's got it, right? Right here. He's got the drugs. He's made the decision. He could have told her, nope, I can't get them, right? He could have told her, I tried, I wasn't successful, but he gets them, okay? So that's our crisis. So what's our major climax? What's our highest point of emotional intensity? When he gets arrested, okay? Right, he didn't know that he was going to get in trouble. That's true, yeah. So I think that the highest point of emotional intensity is when they kiss, right? And he takes the money because that's what makes him a drug dealer, right? Then the falling out of that is that he gets arrested. What else happens? He gets arrested, he goes to jail, then what? He takes a plea bargain. Yeah. Good. Yes. He takes a plea bargain. He pleads guilty, right? So what's our elements of new stasis? Where are we now at the end? Compare the new stasis to the old. So we were in a high school. Now we're where? In a jail. Okay, good. Justin was an honor student and now he's what? He's a felon, right? Okay. So that's the difference, right? We're going from the new stasis. We just compare, look at what you put down for stasis, right? And compare it. And that'll be the easiest way for you to sort of make connections between what happened. All right? Okay. So that takes care of finishing up with 21 Chum Street. Do we have any questions about that before we move on? Let me share the next section that we're going to. What did you think about it? What do you think they're trying to say with that play? Oh, Jasmine, just a second. Let me. It should be included in the link, but if it's not. Be careful of who you trust, not to do drugs, okay? There you go. Maybe it's about like sort of the problem with the way that they're like approaching this, right? Because Justin himself says, right, that he wouldn't have done it if a guy had asked him not to follow anybody, right? Not to change yourself for somebody who wants to date you, right? Because that's not something, you know, he keeps saying, I, you know, this is not something that I do, right? But he did it because she asked him to. Okay. Okay. So grab your vocabulary sheet out of Schoology, all right? And we're not going to have time to do the do now in class, but I want you to make sure to do this and post this in your journals for today. So the PowerPoint is in Schoology, and all you'll have to do is add that to your journal for today, okay? So do that as part of your homework, all right? So let's look at that vocabulary sheet. And I've broken the vocabulary sheet down today into categories of who uses that vocabulary, okay? So I want you to look at this first section. And is there any particular word that you did not sort of understand the definition of from the vocabulary sheet? So we have act, audition, blocking, cue. Okay, sight lines. All right. Okay, we'll do sight lines. Yeah, no, Giselle, you're going to do the do now in your journal, but you'll have to do it as homework. Sight lines, monologue, blocking, fourth wall. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So sight lines and fourth wall are both connected to the proscenium stage. So let me grab a good picture for you. Okay, so can you guys see my picture here, right here of the proscenium? Let's open link in new tab and see. No, that's not what I wanted. Open image in new tab. Okay. So here's the proscenium stage, and we have the proscenium arch, right? The proscenium arch outlines the fourth wall, the invisible wall. The characters that are on stage are usually not supposed to know that they're being watched. In most modern theater, the characters are unaware that there's an audience, right? Now, the actors, of course, know that they're in a play and they know that there's an audience, but the characters do not, all right? So the fourth wall is an invisible wall that allows us to, we look through it to watch the play. So sight lines are basically what we do. See how we have these like flats that look like clouds? We want to make sure that the audience can't see backstage, okay? So if I look at a picture, let me find a picture where we can clearly, right here, okay? Sitting in this side of the audience, we can clearly see to this little backstage area, right? So if we want to have a backstage area, we have to block that to create the sight, like to manipulate the sight line of the audience member, okay? Whereas if we're sitting on this side, this part is already blocked just by that curtain. You can kind of see it in, that's a tiny picture. Right here. This is the other one I used. Right, so we have these little wings set up to block the audience from seeing backstage. Okay? Oh, sorry, it went through some. There we go. Monologue. Okay, so dialogue means what? What does die mean? Or what does mono mean, if you know that? From chemistry, maybe. Okay. Talking between what? Two people talking is dialogue. All right. So back and forth conversation. A monologue is one person who is giving a long speech, uninterrupted. Okay? So if you see, long sections of text where one character is either delivering a speech to the audience or they're delivering a speech to another character, that's a monologue. All right? Any other ones from here that when you were looking at the vocabulary sheet didn't really make sense for you? Did I miss any that we mentioned earlier? Sight lines, fourth wall. Oh, blocking. I'm sorry. Blocking. Okay. All of the movement that happens on stage is called blocking. Okay. So when we were watching 21 Jump Street, all of the dancing, when they stood up on the desk, when they walked over to the table, that's all rehearsed. That's all been planned out. And all that movement is blocking. Okay, a cue. A cue is just a signal. It can mean either like a cue for an actor to do something. It can be a cue for a light to change. It can be a cue for something to come down from the fly space or go up. It's a catch-all term for a signal that something has to change. Okay, interpretation. What does interpretation mean? What does it say on the sheet? How you think of something? Okay. Yeah. The sheet says choices that an actor and director make, right? So when we are doing a play, there are certain things that are ambiguous, right? There are certain things that are not cut and dry, and we have to make choices about how we're going to do that particular part, okay? That's where interpretation comes in. That's what makes each production of a play unique, is the different ways that directors and actors interpret different cues. Okay? Anything else? We've got a lot of people who turn their videos off. So if you can hear me clearly with your video on, let's turn them on, okay? All right, so let's go to playwright vocabulary. All right, so I broke it down into basically things that deal with the playwright. Yes, rehearsal is practice. That's correct. Okay, so the one thing that I want to make sure that we know are stage directions. So if I'm frozen, leave and restart. And I'll let you back in. Stage directions. Okay, so stage directions are written from the perspective of the actor. All right, so imagine yourself standing center stage and looking out at the audience, and you have stage left, right, stage right, and then you have up stage and down stage. So down is toward the audience and up is away from the audience. So look at your sheets, look at what's on here. Tell me if there's anything that you need me to clarify for you. Characterization, conflict, intention, the playwright. Stage business. All right. So stage business is a task that an actor does that doesn't necessarily involve movement. So it could be eating, it could be knitting, it could be playing cards, it could be, what do you think, Kenley? It could be laying down, right? So if blocking is physical movement, stage business might not necessarily require a big movement, but the actor's doing something. And it tells us something about their character based on what they're doing. So if you have like a scene where all the characters are playing cards, a playwright, who's the playwright? Somebody tell me, who's a playwright? Come off mute or type it in the chat. Yes, person who writes the play, person who writes dialogue in the form of the play, somebody who writes the story. Yes. So we're looking at a person who tells a story primarily through dialogue. Okay. All right. Okay. Anything else? Look at your sheet. Look at what's on here. Compare the two. See if there's anything that the definition on the sheet doesn't make sense, or no, we're good on this one? Okay. All right. Let's pop over to technical theater vocabulary. There's a bunch here. We've got backstage, dress rehearsal, the house, props, the orchestra pit, the proscenium arch, which we just talked about, the set, the stage, stage directions, which we talked about, stage manager, technical theater, and strike. Dress rehearsal. All right. So dress rehearsal is when we practice the play in costume. Okay. Strike, if you look at the bottom, very bottom of the vocab sheet, it's just the act of either taking down a set at the end of the whole play, or it can be putting away everything for the night. Okay. Let me give you the file then. I'm going to post the file here just in case, because there you go. If you don't have it, if you can't get into Schoology, there you go. So make sure you're looking at the sheet, okay? Because this stuff is there. I'm trying to. What else do people ask about? The orchestra pit. If you were that picture, the pit where an orchestra will play for a musical. And then technical theater. That's all of the design elements, okay? So we usually think about like acting and directing, but technical theater is the side of it that's about lights and set and costumes and props. All of that fun stuff. Okay, anything else that's on the sheet that I didn't put up here? I pretty much went through the sheet and kind of cherry picked the stuff that's like, the most important, but I also wanted to put it into categories for you so that you had sort of an idea. Everybody knows all the vocab, but not everybody uses the vocabulary with the same regularity, right? So I have a question for you. Why is having a common vocabulary important? In the theater, in physics and math, why is it important that there's a common vocabulary? Being able to correctly describe what's happening. Good. Yes. So you can understand the meaning of theater. Okay. Good. What else? It's easier to communicate. Yes. So you know what the vocabulary means. Good. Okay. Yeah. It can actually be, I mean, obviously, first of all, it creates a community, right? Okay. So that the people who are working together are all using the same vocabulary. But it also, yes, understanding a concept in depth gives you a new way of reading, right? It also can, especially in the theater, it can be dangerous if somebody doesn't understand the vocabulary. So like for instance, and it's not on your sheet, but one of the things that we use in the theater is the word heads. And heads means that something is going to be either brought down from the fly space or taken up. And so when that gets called out, everybody knows that they have to be careful. If they're not paying attention or if they don't know what that means, they could potentially get hit by something, right? So it is also, you know, an element of safety. It creates a sense of community. You know, just like in other, so when different people come together, right, different artists come together, they still have the same vocabulary to unite them. Okay, so we're going to watch Studio C's stage directions, and I want you to just observe how the actors attempt to follow what the director tells them to do. Think about what the genre of the skit is, and what do you think it's trying to say about theater? Okay, so this is just a short little skit. Hopefully we won't have stuttering.
Excuse me, is this where the rehearsal is?
Yeah, I'm Mallory.
Matt, I'm playing Thatcher.
Oh, Marguerite.
Oh, okay.
Great. Well, do you know anything about this director,
No,
actually?
I haven't even met her. Yeah, nothing.
Me neither.
Good evening, Thatcher, Marguerite. I'd introduce myself, but I assume you already know who I am. Valencia.
Yes.
Tonight we'll be rehearsing scene 3, page 24 in your scripts.
Okay. Scene 3. We are in Thatcher's firelit living room. Thatcher is gazing into the fire while swirling a glass of brandy.
Bigger swirls, Thatcher. Good. Yes, get it all over. Yes. Yes. Now keep that up. Don't ever stop swirling that brandy.
Okay.
Okay. Marguerite enters. She walks up to Thatcher clutching a live ferret. Is that a misprint?
No. You'd be surprised how many rodents there are in this piece.
Okay. Is it just...
Yes. Yes, pet the ferret. Oh, that's wonderful. That's lovely. Okay, proceed.
Marguerite, what are you doing here at this hour?
Thatcher, keep in mind that you're holding a cigar.
Oh,
No, you look like you're blowing bubbles. A cigar. Hold the Why have you stopped swirling the brandy? Never stop swirling the brandy.
I'm sorry, I've never smoked before.
Bigger swirls, Thatcher.
Okay.
I'm here because I have to talk to you. It's about our son. He's dead. At that moment, Marguerite reaches into her duffel bag and pulls out the body of a full-grown man.
Yes, and I've already cast the body, so you have something to work with. Jeremy, are you around here? Jeremy, dear? Ah, yes.
Here I am.
Hello, darling. Back in the bag.
Okay. Thatcher, we must burn the evidence before the police arrive, including this. Marguerite pulls an 18-pound bowling ball from the bag. Okay, so...
No, put your fingers in the holes. The bowling ball holes. Yes, the 3 of them. And the ball should be a little heavier than that, Marguerite. Heavier. A little more. Down. Yes, there you go. And you have the ferret on your shoulder still. Just pet it.
Okay, Marguerite and Thatcher carry the body and the bowling ball to the fireplace while wiping away gentle tears.
Okay.
Mind his head.
All right.
Oh, son.
The ferret, Marguerite, the ferret. And the bowling ball. Thatcher, please keep in mind you have the cigar and the brandy still. Yes, Marguerite, don't forget about that ferret. And Jeremy, you should have rigor mortis at this point. Yes. It's wonderful. Really feel the terror.
Okay.
Let's go, come on. Come on, more tears. You're cremating your only son here. Thatcher, you have a line here. No, don't leave the body. Hurry, the police are on their way. Swirl the brandy, Thatcher, swirl it. No, it's all wrong. You look like you've got palsy, Thatcher. Marguerite, you are crushing that ferret beneath your mannish jaw. It's dead, honey.
Okay, Thatcher gazes into the fire for one last look at his son and promptly bursts into flames.
Uh-huh.
So how are we gonna do that exactly?
We're going to set you on fire.
Oh. Okay, Thatcher begins to roll on the ground.
Marguerite grabs a blanket and desperately tries to suffocate the flames. Okay, so...
And Jeremy, if you could play the fire as well. Yes. Marguerite, your fingers are stuck in the bowling ball still for the rest of Act 2.
Bowling ball?
The bowling ball, yes.
So...
Yes. Beautiful. Struggle a little.
Okay.
Swirl the brandy, Thatcher!
Isn't that like a major fire hazard at this point?
Swirl it! All over yourself! The floor, everything! The ferret! Jeremy, you're beautiful, darling! I feel the heat!
Okay, I'm sorry. Does this not look ridiculous to you?
No, it just feels unnatural because you don't have the actual props. I promise, it'll look great.
Okay, I don't know. I've never tried to fight a flaming rolling man while holding a bowling ball and a ferret, but I feel like my character would put them down.
Yeah, I don't know, Valencia. Maybe we should look into a rewrite for this scene. I mean, it's not a comedy. It's a drama for children.
Fine, let's put this on the back burner and move on to scene 4.
Thank you.
Jeremy, if you could play the meteor and the unsuspecting traffic cop, that would be great.
Okay, scene 4. Marguerite enters as a robot and flies.
Yes, and keep in mind, you're still holding your pet ferret and the bowling ball.
Okay, What genre is the skit? What do you think? She reminds me of Ellen. Yeah. She reminds me very much of a friend of mine from college. Looks just like her, actually. Comedy, comedy. We've got one drama. Jaden, are you okay? Comedy, comedy. All right. Okay. So, how did the actors react to the directions that they're given from the director? What are they trying to do? They're trying to follow them, but they are getting irritated, right? They're trying to do as many things as they can. They're trying to please her, right? What else? They were confused, right? How they were supposed to do everything at once. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Right. I mean, she eventually says, I feel like my character would put them down, right? If somebody was on fire in front of you and you were holding your pet ferret, they were overwhelmed. Yeah. Wouldn't you put that down to try to like put the other person on fire or, like get them, or like the guy who's on fire and also still supposed to be swirling the brandy, right? So what do you think that it's trying to say about some people in theater? That they're not good at explaining? Maybe, yeah. Let me show you the... Okay. I don't want to watch this. I wanted to show you the... Okay, so here's some of the top comments. As a theater person, I can confirm that this is exactly how it works. That I thought was really funny. Jeremy is killing it, which is pretty true. I can confirm this is actually what getting stage directions is like 100%, right? So they're obviously playing it up, right? They're taking it to the extreme, right? But they're commenting on how some directors work, right? Where they give you stage directions, they're not really listening to actor input, right? Okay. Now, obviously not all directors are like that, but there are some who, or just the play itself is so wackadoodle, right? What did you think of it? Did you like it? Is it just ridiculous? It was funny? Okay. You can see in it, like, the fact that most of the time with early rehearsals, we're just on like a blank stage. There's no props, there's no set, there's basically nothing, right? And you're just sort of trying to imagine what things might look like, which is one thing that's really nice about this skit. Even as they take stuff right all the way to the extreme, it is still based on like life, right? Which is part of why it's funny, because people who are in the theater see that reflected. Their stuff is pretty good. They've got a lot of stuff on YouTube as well. Okay, so we've got a little bit of time. Before we go to the quiz, I want to give you your homework. So I need you to, one, do the do now for your journal, right? And two, you're going to watch Crash Course Theater #1 before our next session and take notes on it. There's a link to it in Schoology. I I know that a couple of you are having problems with Schoology. If you literally go to YouTube and search Crash Course Theater #1, it will come up, okay? But I want you to take notes on that. It'll give you some context for what we're gonna talk about the next time that we meet, okay? So that way you can already come with some information, and then we'll expand upon what the video is about. I think it's about 15 minutes max, okay? So that's your homework. The other thing I need you to do is, and if you open the PowerPoint in Schoology, answer this do now in your journal. All right? Questions about that before we get to the quiz? I hear bagpipes. Any questions? Okay, so I want to give you the rest of this time to start the quiz. Okay, if you log into Schoology, your Unit 1 quiz is under the folder for today. If you get to complete it while during the time, let me know. You can resume it. So if you don't get a chance to finish it, you will be able to continue where you left off. All right. Yeah, if you don't have access to your Schoology, once you get in, I'll have to recreate it, a quiz, and then just make it accessible for you. So don't worry about it. So let me. Okay, so go ahead and get started on the quiz. I'm going to mute myself for a couple of minutes. If you have any questions, let me know. And if you finish, let me know in chat. As I mentioned, if you don't get a chance to finish it, you should be able to finish it later. It should like help like let you resume your progress. Okay. Jaden, can you try to reopen it? It should let you reopen it. Okay, great. That's why I put resume on there, because Schoology keeps freaking out and I don't trust it. Okay, a couple of you are finishing up. I just wanted to let you know, don't worry about the self-assessment that is listed in there. We're going to bump that back a little bit, okay? So just make sure you do the homework and your journal entry. And if you don't have any questions once you're finished, you are dismissed, okay? Jordan, can you tell me which question you were answering? Okay, those of you who are still testing, you will have a chance to resume. So go ahead and wrap up your thought and what you're doing, because I want to make sure that you get your whole lunch since you have to test more this afternoon. All right. So if you have any questions or any problems while you're taking the test, it is not due until midnight tonight. Okay, so you can resume it later at your leisure. Do your map test, take a break, shake it off, and then come back to it. Okay. Questions that I can answer? Okay, that's okay, Jordan. The video for today or the video for 21 Chum Street, they're both on the PowerPoints. Yeah, they're both on the PowerPoints in Schoology, but I can send it to you, sure. Here you go. There you go. That's season 1, episode 52. So if you have some time, you want to use it. I used to use it as a treat for myself if I got something done, I get to. All right, I will see you guys on, when is it? Monday? Yeah, I think it's Monday. Okay. I will see you then. Bye. Go get lunch. Go eat.